Okay, I leave this platform because I'm going to invite another remarkable person here, which is Mr. Guzanfar Ali, Country General Manager, Pakistan and Afghanistan for IBM. And we're going to have a panel discussion. And this panel discussion is about leadership and challenges, strategies for VUCA times. So just bear with me for a little while we create the setup. May I also request, Asfar has just suggested to me, Max, you should go on the stage and talk, not talk from down there. But somehow I do like limelight, but I also like the limelight in certain restricted way. But anyways, so the panelists are Mr. Naveed Qazi, who's a regional leader, Asia Pacific, Japan and China, GVS and CS Global Services provider, Cisco. Please welcome Mr. Qazi on the stage. The next panelist is Mr. Syed Asad Ali Shah, has been here just a moment ago, who's also the Managing Director and Partner of Deloitte Pakistan. Mr. Anis Ahmed, Managing Director, Abbott Laboratories, Pakistan Limited, and Member Managing Committee, OICCI. Please welcome. And once everybody is here, we will urge you to give a round of applause again, because I think आपको लग रहा है कि शायद थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है बार-बार देना. Chairman and CEO, Kansai Paints Private Limited, my friend Agha Zawar Abbas. The last but not the least certainly is Asif Peer, CEO Systems Limited and Tech Vista Systems UAE. Gentlemen, free seating. Over to you, Guzanfar.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I think it has been a wonderful morning. It has been built very nicely, starting with Padma, then Waqar Saab talking about customer experience, then we had Dr. Umar Saab and Dr. Sadiq Malik, finally Dr. Salim Gauri surviving a clinical psychologist on the stage for 30 minutes, but that was a big challenge. Now we are down to the final session before lunch, and here we will talk with the leaders on how they are seeing the whole transformation, how it is impacting their own business, right? So this will be the crux of whatever has been told and what we are seeing as the leadership team in our organization. So I'll start with Anisa, with you, and the question is common, right? So with all the transformation talks and disruption talks which we hear in the market, what you have seen personally in your organization or in your industry, what is transforming fast, what are the current challenges you face on the HR perspective, and what are the challenges which you foresee which will hit you in 2 to 3 years, which we don't see right now?
Yeah. Okay, thanks Guzanfar, and I'll talk about the industry. And we are from pharma industry, so I think VUCA fits in very well, because VUCA is kind of a norm for us. You see volatility, you see uncertainty. And again, from a volatility point of view, the way technology and digitalization impacting pharma industry is something which is a big disruptor. We see changes like you have seen the traditional way of detailing where you used to see sales reps going and detailing products. Now it's changing to remote detailing, where you don't see like the sales reps going around meeting doctors. So it's a different thing taking place. The other change that we have seen, and again that's the big one, that unlike in the past when we used to detail products, it's more about solutions now. So we are talking about solutions, not products anymore. And the biggest disruptor, and you'll be surprised, and it's all because of the ethical changes that we see across a region, across globe, that can you imagine a sales team having no sales targets? So this is what is happening in pharma now. We have seen it's happening in various, I heard Waqar Saab saying in the morning talking about targets. Let's just imagine sales team having no targets and again creating value for the business. So this is the kind of changes that we are seeing, again from technology point of view, again from the ethical pressures point of view, and also the new change which is we are getting from the insight that we are getting from our relevant stakeholders. So the entire industry, the dynamics are changing so fast that which you didn't see in the past. That's again from the volatility perspective, but again from the uncertainty point of view, you'll see there are a lot of changes taking place again from the regulatory front. Things are very uncertain, things are ambiguous, so it makes it even more complex in terms of planning your investment, planning your future. So this brings down to a real challenge from HR perspective, that if you're working in an environment which is like a VUCA time, what kind of leaders do you need? And what kind of mindset do you need in the organization? So I think I'll go back to what Fatma said in the morning. The biggest attribute that we see from challenge point of view, and also from the leadership attributes point of view, we need agile leaders, leaders who are agile, who can really anticipate things. Not only anticipate, they can also even handle what they are then getting at that same point in time. The other thing is adaptability, how adaptable your leaders are.
Correct.
And lastly, I think again I'll take from what Musaddiq Sahab was saying, is innovation. So in this VUCA time, especially from farmer perspective, what becomes more relevant from leadership point of view or from HR point of view are basically agility, adaptability, and innovation. So that these are the attributes that we see in our coming leaders or the leaders who are already leading the business.
Right. Thank you, Anisab. So, Agha, I'll come to you because you have built a great story of transformation locally. And I've heard you in earlier seminars as well, and you talk very passionately about all the HR changes and all the new systems which you have brought and tested in this local market as a local entrepreneur. So, how do you see your field being impacted with disruption, and what kind of talent challenges you see foresee coming?
Thank you, Zanfar. Yeah, I think there are three major issues which are facing us. Most of them have been discussed, but we are from a medium-sized manufacturing thing, and we are primarily a Japanese company, and we have been trained all our lives to follow a conveyor belt sort of system. He does this, and he does this, and he does this. What we see now is a total change in the demand that we are getting from the market. And one of the biggest challenges that we are facing is how to make people unlearn what they have learned in the past 20 years. On one side, there is a pressure for consistency. On one side, there is a pressure on agility, on being flexible, on being adaptive, on being many, many other things. So what we are doing is we are trying to train our workforce, our colleagues, our teams, to have a firefighter's mindset. Although in corporate world, firefighting is not one of those good words, but a firefighter's mindset is that they are absolutely prepared at all times for things which are uncertain, they'll be sudden, they'll be demanding, and there'll be no parameters given to you. So that firefighter's mindset will actually enable you to adapt to the changes when they come along. The second thing which is important is to have that mindset. You need to have a very, very engaged workforce, very, very engaged team, because if the team understand what you're saying, the handling of all those unforeseen things becomes much easier. Another aspect which has been sort of missed out is the transparency which is coming in with all these technological advances. The transparency and the compliance, the global compliance. Unfortunately, companies in Pakistan who are into manufacturing and things like that, we do not follow any global standards, most of us. But with this globalization and with this transparency and with this monitoring and GPS systems and all those things, I think there will be a lot of pressure on all of us to be absolutely transparent. And with transparency will come adaptation of international standards, international procedures, processes. For example, we would be hit by child labor thing. We would be hit by many, many such things which we are not even discussing right now. Our HRs have a huge, huge challenge in front of them. In our company, and I think in many other companies, as it was said in the morning, the HR is there to facilitate, to take care of the training need analysis, things like that. In our case, our line managers, departmental managers are the HR managers. They are the ones who plan for the future. They are the ones who plan for training and things like that. But I think whosoever is in charge, it's going to become a big, big problem for them until and unless they change themselves, they become agile, and they start thinking with that fighter's mindset. That's my take on this.
Thank you. So let's have a technology point of view as well. Cisco, the global leader in infrastructure services and connectivity, and it has changed a lot for Cisco in last 5-10 years, right? And Cisco has evolved itself into a different company as well. So how have you seen the changes in technology world and how you were able to change things, and what changes you foresee further coming in this era?
Thank you, Radanfar, and thank you, Nutshell Forum, for giving me the opportunity to be in this August panel. So practically, first of all, I must confess that this term VUCA was pretty new for me. Coming from an industry where acronyms are pretty much churned out on a per second basis in millions, I didn't really realize what VUCA stands for. But if you look at the environment practically, whether within our country or in the region or on a global scale, VUCA is pretty much business as usual. So I worked in this industry for almost 20 years now, right? And every second, third year, you see some sort of a geopolitical challenge that impacts the economy, that impacts the industry. And as some of the speakers earlier were pointing out, over the last 10 to 15 years, the pace of disruption is so massive that you can't really plan your business for a 3 to 5 years window. When I started my career, some of the core technology solutions that were prevalent in the market and that accounted for, let's say, 70–80% of the capital requirements for our most high-value customers, they don't really exist. Some of the companies that our company used to compete with 10 years back, they don't really exist. I would say 70–80% of them. So change is the new normal, and it's happening really at a very breakneck pace. So if we try to apply that to human resource, you know, that universal theorem of hiring for aptitude and then training for skill set is really the new normal, right? And that is something that you really need to bank on. If you are hiring the best possible talent that you can afford, whether it's from a financial standpoint or your brand pull, and then you are really training them to be prepared for the unknown, because every second to third year, even within our industry, you would be encountered with a set of circumstances that would be very new, and you have to cope with that and evolve. The other real thing that I've seen is that in positions of middle to senior management, the age bracket is shifting. So earlier on, wherever you would have a 10 to 15 years worth of experience for a certain management position, now you can have people that have 4, 5, 6 years of experience because of the new skill set that is required. And folks like myself, they don't really have that skill set. They can't really cope with that. So you have to blend those different age groups and that diversity within your operational environment. I think that's also another challenge that most of the large tech leaders face with. If you look at even the evolution of the likes of Facebook, Google, and so on that have evolved and have a comparatively younger age than companies like ourselves, they are also facing that challenge. As they become global companies, the skill set that actually made them a very successful startup is not really relevant. So they have to hire people who are a bit more seasoned. And for companies like ourselves, we have to hire people that come with the next generation skill set. So you have to blend that harmoniously to ensure that the business machine works as it should.
Good, very good. Thank you, Naveed sir. So now I come to you, Ashish sir, because you are the person who keeps an eye on all of us as a business, right? So you have more insight than all of us collectively because you deal with very diversified businesses, and you have seen this transformation hitting Pakistan as well, right? So what is your perspective of the talent challenges which your own industry plus your customers are facing these days?
Thank you, Guzanfar. I think wisest of all men, as they say, was the Socrates.
Right.
And Socrates, 2,500 years ago, he was asked the same question that you are asking me. He was asked that, there are so many philosophers in Athens. What is the difference between you and others?
Right.
So you see, his response was that the only difference is that others don't know that they don't know anything. I know that I don't know anything. So I think, yes, the times that we are living, I think Dr. Musaddiq rightly portrayed this,
that 60s of Pakistan, you could not have imagined what would be in 70s, and 70s you could not have imagined the 90s, 80s, and so on and so forth. And now the change is so phenomenal that I think this very interesting term for this conference, VUCA, I think is also not relevant. We are probably beyond VUCA times. We are, I think, living, it's very difficult for me to describe what times these are, but these are, to describe them very simply, are crazy times.
Right.
So I think in these times, again, it reminds me of a very interesting quote from Steve Jobs when he came back to Apple second time and started, his campaign for the new product. And that product was, the message was that people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do.
Correct.
So I think it's a crazy time. We need more crazy people.
Right.
And we need crazy organizations.
Correct.
And we need to set crazy targets. And we need to have crazy imagination, to achieve something that we don't know beyond imagination. We need to, again, as Donald Trump, one of the unpopular guys, he says that since you have to think, why not think big?
Correct.
So I think leadership is all about imagination and thinking what not, everybody's thinking, but beyond that. The organizations which will succeed in these times, I would say that there are two parameters. One is obviously we are in the race of getting the best talent. And then we need to have an environment to retain the talent. As Salim Gauri was saying, you need to have that environment of motivation and challenging, and you need thinkers. And the second aspect is obviously you have to think, you have to generate curiosity amongst them so that they think and they have become more creative, imaginative, so that the organization needs to continuously innovate.
Right.
So these are the times when, in fact, I would say that my business in the current form is probably not viable. I have to think how to make it viable, because traditional, who would know better that you guys, IBM, is working on this Watson,
Yes.
Which, as per the commentary that I've heard, that it will make 70% of the legal profession redundant.
Correct.
So you're trying to make doctors redundant as well.
Right.
And we accountants are already redundant. I think you don't have to do it. We have made it ourselves. So I think we have a serious challenge. We are, it's a very challenging times, and we have to think of innovation, think of new things, how to become not only more efficient, not only more productive, but productivity at a different scale altogether to survive. So I think those are the things that the organization of the future will be totally different. The talent of the future will be totally different, and the conventional wisdom, the way we have been doing business, if we continue like that, we are already redundant.
Right.
So that's, I think we need different leadership. I don't know, maybe I think the way we were trained, most of that training has become redundant, so we need to think, how do we compete in a world where, most of us, 80–90% by 5 years or 10 years will be redundant, and it will be a different world. So what will be, as Dr. Mossadegh was challenging, he was saying that people will live for 700 years, and there is some gentleman he was saying that death is an illness, but somebody said that now death is not a fact, it is just a problem to be solved.
Right.
So I think in these times, and this is reality, you know, yesterday's fiction is today's reality. And today's fiction will become tomorrow's reality, or even more than that.
Correct.
So in these times, I think we need totally different set of skills. We need totally different thinking, what we have been doing so far.
Right, right. Okay. That's a great perspective. So now I'll come to you, Asif, because systems has been an icon in local industry and has been long-standing IT company built by some innovative and visionary people in Pakistan and is still competing at global and local landscape, right? So what is your perspective as pure IT entrepreneur and working in these disruptive times when all these new players coming in and disrupting the traditional IT work? How do you see the challenge and how you have been able to respond to this so far?
Thank you, Ghazanfar. I think I would like to say here is, of course, as Ghazanfar mentioned, that we have been doing in IT services for about 4 decades now. Yeah, so we have been doing this IT business in 4 decades, and as I would agree with Asad Saab is that, of course, it's you can call it disruptive, you can call it crazy, or whatever time, but it's definitely, all of us are challenged, right? And what I tell my team, what biggest challenge is that what we heard from is unlearn what you have learned, right? So I think change, how the change happens actually, what is the phenomena, right? Phenomena is very simple. It's you have to be dissatisfied with your status quo. So if you are satisfied in what you are doing, then technology will surpass what Asad Saab was just mentioning, right? So why it happens, why you are behind in certain things, why? If you ask, because most of the people are comfortable in a comfort mindset, in a fixed mindset, because they believe that whatever we are doing today, this is what our ability to do. And that's it. They do not want to learn more. And they do not want to change. So I think creating a sense of urgency in the management and the leadership about this change is the key. And more dissatisfied you are, the more creative and disruption, innovation and creativity will come, because you will challenge yourself every morning. How do I do it differently? How do I come up with a work model which is doing more with less? How? So, and once you have the dissatisfaction, then you will be able to create the model or a vision, and then the process. And if you multiply all 3 of them, then it's only the change or disruption is going to happen. I think what we were discussing is think big, but think new and think quick. We don't have time, right? So time is running, and from we are in HR business, pure HR business. Like I have 2,000 employees in our organization. And this is all about we manage people, we hire, attract and retain people. What I tell my HR, hire for future. Always when we are interviewing and doing the talent management, we look for that after 2 years, where I would like to see this person if I'm hiring him today. So hiring for future is the key. And again, in our business, since it's a people, and as Ghazanfar mentioned, like technology is changing like a hell. Right? Every day, like he was mentioning, we are acquiring companies, and they are continuously, these big players like IBM, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all these big players are investing money and changing the work life, which Asad was mentioning, like all of the business domain, whether you are in a pharma, you mentioned that you need solutions, right? Whether you are in a hardware business, whether you are in a paint business or any manufacturing business, you need an operational excellence in today's world to be effective and competitive in the industry. We have seen tons of examples in US, even people not embracing the e-commerce and just wanted to retain their brick and mortar stores. They were out of the business. Most of them filed bankruptcies, right? And they're out of the business. Why? Their HR their thought process, they were satisfied with what they were doing, right? They were satisfied. They didn't want to change. They don't want to unlearn. So I think in our business, if we don't have a growth mindset, I think this is the key in our business. If the people or the leadership does not have a growth mindset, and what does growth mindset means? That people need to believe that even basic abilities and talent could be learned as well if you don't have it. You are not threatened by the challenge. You welcome any challenge, any opportunity in technology or non-technology world, in any of the domain. That's the key. That's how you change yourself. And we recruit like about good 100 plus fresh grads from IT universities every year. So what typical behavior is, like look at the GPAs of the fresh graduates from various top-notch universities and get them in, right? Is that the criteria? It's not, because what we are looking is to people who has drive to bring that change. Because what I firmly believe, hunger and energy trumps the experience. If you have hunger and energy, then you are going to bring any change or do anything disruptive and adopt what you need to do. So what we do, what my clear message into our talent management and the HR people is, what we value is passion, dedication, growth, and learning, and not just geniuses. Because if you have so many geniuses and they are not socially sensitive, then the teamwork is not going to happen in any HR business, right? That's the key. Second, that you are here, we do not expect our fresh grads and whatever talent we hire in our IT industry, that they have already learned everything and they are here because they have learned everything. What we expect out of them, they are willing to learn. They are ready to learn, right? They are ready to come out of their comfort zone. They take every opportunity, every challenge as an opportunity. They just don't want to do they would love to do or what they are good at it, right? Because what in our industry is that there are many competencies, many technologies, IBM, Microsoft. Resource says that I'm good in Microsoft technologies. We don't hire them because he does not have that desire. He just wants to be in the comfort zone. He just wants to do what he knows. That's what we don't need in today's world. This crazy time or VUCA time or whatever you call, we don't need that mindset. Yeah. And lastly, I would say that it's all about the process. It's not about who do you reward. You reward talent, ability, but what I encourage to reward process, because that is repeatable. That is what is required in HR and human resource business, that you reward process. You don't, I think I heard in the previous session, Salim Saab was saying that failure, what we heard in HR people and in the industry, basically failure is not an option, right? That's what people think, that they think about the outcome first. So they don't innovate. So what I'm saying, what we just encourage, the culture is failure is byproduct of experimentation. So you have to experiment and learn from your failures, and effective performers, whoever in the HR business or any business, effective performers learn from intelligent failure and spread widely. That is the key. That is how you train your HR people and your talent, and that's how any technology or any company can grow if we manage our talent in this way. And I think what I would like to add one more point here is that in people business, we don't have any asset or anything like that, just people is our asset, right? So how we can pay them well. That's the one conversation we heard. But how we have done it differently at Systems Limited, we are employee-owned organization, right? That is the big thing for us, that all of my management and myself, we have earned it. We invest in our company. We give people the shares and the stakeholder. We bring our management to the partnership level. They are really, my employees and the management, they spend, including myself, spend all our bonuses in getting an equity in our company. So that's where you put your skin in the game. Because in services business, innovation, creativity, and all sort of stickiness and the retain, we all want to retain our best people, right? How? Just paying them 20% more? No, that's not an answer. 20%, 30%, 40% is not going to buy the sincerity and the ownership, what ownership buys, because you put your skin in the game, you are putting your money, your time, your value into the company. And that's how you retain people in the organization. So I hope.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. So in the end, I would like to share also the IBM's perspective on this, because we are a company 105-year-old, the only IT company who's lived so long, only known case on planet Earth to transform itself for five times in its history. And this era, we call it VUCA era or we call it crazy time, has been the most difficult time for us as well, because transforming an organization which has 400,000 people across the globe, and at the pace at which the disruption is happening at the market was really a challenge. And so far, I mean, we can't say that it's over. It's always going on. We had an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 is going on right now. But one thing which changed fundamentally in the IT industry, and this also affects other industries as well, when we talk about all this big data being available, 5 years ago, this big data was not making sense to machines. So pictures were there, but machines were not making sense of it. Voice was there, but machines were not making sense. Traditional IT companies has been handling numerical data for so long and creating differences for the businesses. When this data became readable for the machines, when machines were able to pick up the emotions, pick up the images and stuff, all of a sudden the whole paradigm of IT changed. So we were dealing with essentially with systems of records. So we were playing with records, creating reports, creating efficiencies and doing stuff. And suddenly machines could recognize emotions, could recognize faces. So systems changed fundamentally from systems of record to systems of engagement. Now the critical skill set which we had as IBM over the period of last 100 years was very strong on technical side. If you remember, IBM used to build very strong, robust machines, but black, bad in design, right? No good statics, long manuals and stuff. Suddenly, we found ourselves into an era where everything is about engagement, and engagement is driven by the touch, the feel, the design, the statics, how you connect to the people, how you understand the emotions. So in last 4 transformation, what we were doing, there was new technology in the industry. We were taking the existing human resource and reskilling them on the new technology. Suddenly we found that now we don't need don't need to retrain people. We need new set of people which are completely different in the skill set. So we need people with good design skills. We need people with good creativity. We need to look for people who are coming from non-traditional ways. And you will be surprised to know that some of our centers, and mostly global US centers, 1/3 of our workforce are the people who have not done formal degrees. This is the thing which we could not think 4 years back, that you can get into a company like IBM without doing a formal degree. Now, because as Dr. Umar Saif mentioned earlier, people are looking for skills, not for degrees. So whole paradigm has changed from a traditional IBM to this new IBM. Now we see it's a different skill requirement which we look for in the market. It's a different industry skills which we look for in the market. We were traditionally very strong in industries like financial sectors and telcos. Now we are more in healthcare and taxes and all these areas. So it's completely shifts the requirement of the Asia. Now, this also brought another perspective internally, that the leadership skills to lead such a human resource also changed significantly. Earlier, experience was something we all had cherished, right? So we were thinking that experience will lead us through. So wherever there was a complex problem, we were looking for an experienced leader. Now, intuition is the new asset we look for. The person who comes with more creativity, more intuition, and more agility and boldness to challenge everything and disrupt everything has more value in our management system. So it's very amazing. I mean, when we talk about crazy times and we talk about not only the small organization, the big organization with 400,000 employees, 170 country coverage, The change of change on the requirement side has been so big, and it has been going so fast that we, as a leader of all our organizations, are struggling a lot on that. So with that, I'll come to the next question, which is like, what are the key skills which you see in your perspective, in your own industry, which will be critical in next 4 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think the traditional skills that we used to look at are no more sufficient.
Right.
Especially the kind of environment in which we are in, either you call it VUCA or crazy times. So I think the biggest skill that we have started looking into, and especially when we are hiring new people, is basically people with the strategic thinking, people with complex thinking skills. Because it's more to do with scenario planning now. It's no more the traditional planning that we used to do. Because you have to work on various scenarios if you're working in an environment which is so uncertain, there's a lot of volatility. So that's the major skills that we are looking into, and when we are hiring new leaders, either for heading some functions or some of the attributes that we are really focusing on. People with a strategic mindset, people who are open to change, and who can think in a very complex environment with a lot of ambiguities around.
Right. So, Agha Sahab, I'll come to you on this. My question would be, I mean, we all hear these things, we need new skills and stuff, right? So what we can do as corporate leaders, right, to make sure that the skills which are being taught at academia or are being prepared at academia are much closer, or they are more aligned with the requirement of future?
See, the problem is when we say VUCA, the name itself implies that we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So honestly, I will slightly differ in my opinion, because we can only plan about what we know is going to happen. We are absolutely unsure what's going to happen, what new things are going to come our way a year from now or 2 years from now. I think, and because also that our education system is not going to change overnight, the world education system is not going to change overnight. There will be no such courses as preparing for the future or things like that. So I think the onus on these chief executives and the business leaders is to prepare their teams for the change, to be very, very agile teams which are highly engaged and they are up for the challenge. As I said, the firefighter's mindset. If you see a firefighter's mindset, he's prepared fully with complete harmony amongst the team. He's prepared for the unexpected. He's prepared for, he knows that the call could come any point in time. He knows that it could be very, very bad, and he knows that, you know, it's going to maybe cost his life. So that is the mindset. If we are able to inculcate in our teams, that might take us forward. Otherwise, investing into any particular skill set, in my humble point of view, that might not work, because things are so uncertain. Right. And the speed is so fast that even if you start training somebody right now, it will take him 4 to 5 years to come up to that particular thing. And there's so many disruptions happening all around you. And if you are following, and if you're unable to unlearn, as I said earlier, right, you could actually end up in difficulty.
Right. Good. Asad sir, I would ask you a slightly different question. So we see in Pakistan, we still have organizations in traditional hierarchy, right? So what structural changes in terms of HR perspective, right, you see coming, hitting us? I can give you my example, right? Now I run an organization of Pakistan, IBM Pakistan, which is around 500 people, and I don't have an HR leader. Because
you're HR leader yourself.
I'm HR leader myself, right?
Absolutely.
And similarly, I mean, in last 6 months, we have taken 3 leadership positions out because those positions went into the systems. Yeah. And the people are reporting either directly to somebody outside, or we have changed the organization structure completely in last 6 months. So I see that these structural changes are imminent for the local companies as well. So what are your thoughts, and what do you think, you know, is going to happen?
Zanfar, thank you. I think that's a very good question. And as we have been saying, we have to unlearn a lot of learnings that we have done in the past. the organization has to be restructured based on its objectives. Definitely, the traditional organization structure will not work. I think most of the organization structures are redundant. First of all, I think, as you said, it's the right thing to do. The CEO, the leader, actually is the HR leader. Actually, you said that you are an HR organization. I think every organization is an HR organization. It's all about talent. And in 21st century, in the times that we are living, as somebody said, only thing which is more important than the ability is your ability to recognize the ability.
Correct.
So I think the greatest challenge for the leadership, for the top man, is to select and get the right talent, right people who are creative, who are thinkers, who have curiosity, who come up with new ideas, who are agile, who are adaptable. All of these qualities, basically, you see, while the times are changing, I must say the basic skills that are required that were relevant yesterday are also relevant today. The basic skills and basic intelligence and capacities of human nature, you know, we just need to have them more, you know, and what is required is, I mean, talking about the organization structure, I think these need to be lean. These the layers of the organization that used to be have to be undone, right. And you know, you need to have leaders, you know, heading different functions and different you know, business groups in an organization. And obviously the organizations need to be simple. I think one of the things I would say is that in these complex times, the best ability that you can have is the simplicity.
Correct.
You know, clear thinkers and people who have simple ideas and who can express themselves in a very simple manner and who are great listeners, you know, are the people who will make the difference and who will survive and succeed and thrive in these difficult times.
Thank you, thank you. So Asif, my question would be, how are you changing your own communication with your own leadership team, and how you are adopting new skills or new techniques with your own leadership team who are leading the teams below you in these times?
I think first of all, I would like to say is that it's a clear communication, right? Whatever world you live in, whether it's change or not, I think as Asif was mentioning, the basic, if you are clear about your message, what you are expecting out of your leadership, your direct management, and you are giving them the goals and objectives and where you are thriving or organization is thriving, and then it's only going to make a difference. However you connect, whether you connect on a daily basis, whether you connect on a Skype or a video call or whatever way, because now we are living in a global era, right? I have the team across the globe, right? So it's not like we can have just a 5-minute conversation a day and that's about it. And it's right now, it's mostly informal communication, right? I think that's, if the message and the repetition is the key. Like people, like they need to hear the entire leadership and the management and also the team underneath, the middle management, they need to repetitively hear what we are all about, what organization, where organization is heading, what are the challenges we are facing and what sort of issues we're going to address and why we need to change, why we need to push ourselves, why we need to adopt the disruption. As Ghazanfar was mentioning, like these principles are transforming. As an IT company or as a pharmaceutical or any company, every organization has to look for what is happening. If you cannot, it's not easy to say that, yeah, we will have tons of hundreds of ideas and hundreds of products, and we will be like a product company. We could have a Facebook type of an app and things like that. Yeah, it's possible, but is it? Like how many people are like that, right? So what at least we can do, these principles in technology world, at least I would say that, or in any technology, any industry you are, there are certain leaders who invest tons of billions of dollars in research, strategy, marketing, consumer behavior. They know that what companies, organization need, at least in IT industry I know. So can we at least follow and create something out of those technologies or enablers, because these principles are coming out of the solutions with their research. Can we be enabler? Can we be enabler? So I think that's what our message is, and I think communication, as I said, I believe in a clear communication, clear targets, clear goals, that's where, and repetition. As I said, like if I need to say something, I'll keep saying, whenever I get them in a town hall or wherever, I will keep repeating what we have discussed, what we have agreed, so everyone remains in sync throughout the year when we are actually, of course, we all unfortunately drive by do 5-year plan, but drive by quarter, when you're a public listed company and so on and so forth. So these things, the basics remain the same.
Thank you. So Naveed, you have led organization in Pakistan as well as you have been doing regional jobs as well, right? So what will be your message to the young leaders here, that how they have to equip themselves with the challenges, because the challenges which you see today in the region will be our challenges tomorrow, because world is getting flat, all those challenges are becoming universal, and there is nothing which will be limited to one geography, right? So one day or the other, they will face the same things.
Thank you. So just a couple of things. First of all, I think at times it's easier to get carried away by this innovation mantra because of all the disruption and all the amazing innovation that is happening around the globe. But we also need to understand the business that we are in. Quite a number of companies go haywire because they experiment too much and the end result is not really sustainable. So I think innovation and execution have to blend harmoniously in any successful organization. And as Asad said, that's a fairly universal golden old principle that would probably not change forever. And just relating your question to the discussion that we were having as to what is our expectation from the talent nurseries, from our educational systems and universities and colleges. I personally think, if I try to relate that with our particular industry, we have reasonable raw talent. Obviously, we are a very large, very populous country, and over the last few years, our higher education system has expanded, and now it's touching more people and churning out more graduates. But when we try to acquire talent that is reusable in the technology arena, but you can also give them management responsibilities, I think probably we need to focus a bit more on the software. For example, when I was initially exposed to the American corporate culture, one of the first differences I felt was that if we are having a heated argument in the boardroom, generally in our culture, the residual effect will be in the organization for the next few days. They are generally able to get over that and have a conversation and move on. So these are some of the things that you need to probably instill once a graduate or a student enters the corporate or industrial world, but possibly also at the educational institution level. So maybe you can come up with a curriculum or a module that probably equips them a bit better, right? 8 a.m. Monday morning is 8 a.m. Monday morning. Friday close of business is Friday close of business. A commitment is a commitment, and if it's not being honored, then you have to raise a flag ahead of time. So these are very humble and little things, but at times I think that make a lot of difference in the overall success of the business and the success of professionals. And that is partly the reason, if you look at the current regional or global climate, the number of Pakistanis that we have that excel in some of the larger corporations as a proportion is much lower than what it used to be, except for the people who have moved on and they live elsewhere. And I think partly the reason is the kind of skills that we can equip them over years within the corporate or even educational environment is not really very compatible with what the regional or the global business environment requires. So I think in my humble view, that's something that we need to put a bit more focus on.
Great. So gentlemen, thank you very much for this session, because we are just on top of hour, and I think it's time for lunch. Thank you for sharing all the insights. I think Anis Saab, from pharmaceutical to local paints, from Asad Saab, we had a great contribution in terms of ideas. Asad Saab, I would finally ask you for a quote, because I know you are known for a quote, to sum up the session.
Yeah, I think, and the last thing I wanted to say.
Other than Socrates.
Other than, sorry, no, it's not, I'm not a soccer player, my sons are. I think we crossed that age. I think one very key thing to understand is that in most organizations, we do not generate original ideas. You know, original ideas are generated, obviously we are in the business of getting good ideas and fresh ideas that we can implement, execute, and excel, get more from the less, you know. And for that, again, there is a very great quote from Steve Jobs. You know, Steve himself copied a lot of ideas from others. So he used to say...
Some of them were from us as well. So
some of them from you, and absolutely. So that here's how you can do. He said, he used to say that good artists copy, great artists steal. And he said, we have been shameless about stealing great ideas from other people.
Right.
So look for good ideas, and wherever you get good ideas, do not be ashamed of you know, copying, and improve upon that. That is what is innovation. Right. Get the idea into a business proposition, and you know, making more money from it. And ultimately, I think we were talking about loyalty and money when in terms of retaining talent. I think to your previous question, I would say to that, again, there is a quote from Oscar Wilde. He used to say that when I was young, I thought money was the most important thing in the world. Now that I'm old, I know it is. So ultimately, I think that's what counts.
Thank you.
Please don't go anywhere. Please stay here. Okay. Sorry, you want to make some concluding remarks?
No, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. And it was wonderful people. And 6 is a big panel. And I'm sorry that we still have time constraints. But I think I request the audience to please give a huge round of applause for this wonderful panel, and very well conducted. Don't go anywhere. We have some gifts for you. Asfar has insisted that I stand on the stage and talk. We'll have a group photograph, and I'll request Asfar to please come here as well. And these gifts would be handed over to all of you. Fatma Asad Saeed, so please, Fatma, join us on the stage. Also, please, Asfar, are you here? I also have to join you guys. Please stay like this. I think it's easier. Fatma, can you please do us the favor? Yeah, please feel generous about giving a round of applause. Thank you very much. Enjoy lunch, and we'll be here maybe less than an hour. 5 minutes. No problem.